The YouTube is going.
Yeah.
Yes, people are seeing us now. Great.
Okay. So, CeCe, if you could just, oh wait, I got to do this portion, right? No, after. Or do I do it now? The record.
You tell me. It doesn't matter because Jeff's now, he's editing it.
Okay. All right. So, hang on. All right, CeCe. So you could just mute your audio and your video. Thank you. And Edward, as soon as he gets his typing done, we're going to kick off this incredible episode of Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed.
We're so excited. Today's guest bringing the joy.
That's for sure.
And that's what we look for.
Joy is an indicator of strength, not weakness. Remember, a smiling man is the indication of a confident man.
Yes.
Confident that all things are working together for good.
Yes.
And I learned that from a Marine. Yeah. Remember, because the cool, sour face
Oh, this is looking great.
is really just fear in a black jacket.
Or in board shorts.
All right. So are you ready, Ed?
On the west side.
Are you ready?
I am ready, man. Let's go.
Okay. Welcome to the Funniest Thing.
Yes.
Where each week we share stories about how stepping out boldly always leads to better than expected outcomes.
Does it ever?
I'm Darrell.
I'm Ed.
And we're broadcasting live from middle school studios in beautiful downtown Culver City, the heart of Screenland.
Oh, boy.
And I noticed our camera's a little crooked, but you know what? We're just going to enjoy the show.
Yeah, that's very fitting for us, man. It's so good to be in middle school studios on this fine Saturday. Today's show, by the way, is called Miracles Are Natural with CeCe Gaitan. The only thing that gets in the way of miracles is our bad habit of disbelief. We are the only ones who set the limits for ourselves. We tell ourselves stories that lower our expectations, and we convince ourselves to be reasonable about our needs and desires being fulfilled. Meanwhile, all the power of the universe is waiting, ready, and excited to go to work on our behalf. On this episode, Darrell and Ed encourage listeners to start enjoying the belief that God is at work, harmonizing, healing, and prospering all of our affairs. This is the technique of living from miracle to miracle. And during the second segment, Cheerful CC Gaitan. She's a prayer minister up at Unity of Ventura.
Yes.
I got to see Darrell was speaking, and I saw CeCe running the show.
She was discovered on the platform at Unity of Ventura by Ed.
That's right.
He said, she's a star. Get her on the show.
I was smoking a big cigar. I said, yeah, get me CeCe. And during the second segment, Cheerful CC Gaitan gets us to break the bad habit of disbelief with today's reading. If not now, when, for crying out loud?
That's right.
Yes.
For the listeners, right before the show started, I mentioned when we were getting set up that a smiling man is the indication of a confident man.
Yes.
Confident, all things are working together for good.
Oh my gosh, thank heavens they are. Man.
And that's why a joyful person is an indication of a confident person. And confident in Latin literally means with faith.
Right.
With joyful expectancy that things are working out together for good. We don't have to make it happen.
No, we just have to stay true in our mind to the understanding that our good is always working out on our behalf, actually. And when we do it this way, everything comes easy and natural. And because it's principle that our good is trying to get through, and our job is to keep reaffirming within ourselves that this is the case. And when we do, we don't have to work so hard.
No.
I was in Darrell's library just before this, actually in the restroom, where he has this book. If you're watching on YouTube, you could see The Dynamic Laws of Prosperity. It's by Catherine Ponder. It is a recommended reading. And I just was thinking about this very subject of how God makes everything easy and listening to my intuition. And I looked at the book. I said, we're about to do a show. Should I really open that? But of course, I followed through on the hunch. And I opened to this, which Darrell had highlighted, which says that beginning to do everything as though you were in the presence of divine intelligence and intuitive wisdom, which knows your needs, is interested, is able, and happy to help you, you will find not only that your abilities are increasing more and more, but also that you are being instructed from within about many things you need to know. Suddenly, you will have a feeling or get a hunch about what to do or not to do. As you follow that hunch or prompting, you will be happily amazed to find that the divine intuition which gave you the prompting has already gone before you and prepared the way for its fulfillment. You will discover that as you follow that intuitive prompting in faith without reasoning it through, your good will unfold to you almost faster than you can accept it. Thus, a hunch or inner prompting simply indicates that the good which you desire actually desires to be yours. Desire is God tapping at the door of your mind, trying to give you your greater good. That you deeply desire something is positive proof that it is already being prepared for you and is only waiting for you to recognize and accept it.
Yeah.
And you do have to make a decision. Even she says,
You have
results always follow decisions.
Yes.
Things begin to happen that fall in line with your decision to trust and know that you are an expression of the divine and that all things are working out for your good.
Yes. That's the hard part, is trusting our intuition, because we've gotten so used to doing the opposite, which is being reasonable about things. A lot of it comes from the idea that if I don't act in a familiar or acceptable way,
Yes.
or what seems reasonable. Now, remember, reasonable, you think, oh, that means good behavior. Well, reasonable doesn't really mean good behavior. I like to substitute reasonable with familiar.
Yeah.
We want to do something that's familiar so we're not ostracized.
Expected.
Or we might, God forbid, we move out of this arena that's familiar, which Darrell and Ed refer to as the stagnant zone. So it takes courage to trust those joyful inklings. But here's the thing. They never lead us astray.
They do not.
The only thing that causes problems is when I don't listen to that. And more joy flows when you follow intuition. Not just the things start to
That's right.
fall in a line in a way that's magnificent. Because like she said, this second line in here, results always follow decisions. Things begin to happen that fall in line with your decision.
Mm-hmm.
It's just because it's always taking us somewhere new.
Yeah.
The intuition isn't going to take us somewhere that we've been before.
That's right.
So do I want to trust that genius within? It takes courage. But here's the thing. That's why we have these shows to listen to. And that's why we read these books. Because we're not alone in being somewhat doubtful. But the great news is the truth that we can let go of the doubt when we realize that this harmony of the universe is operating the same within our thinking.
Yes.
So the order and the progressive nature to go on to express itself in more finer and greater ways with more joy and everything that goes along with that.
Mm-hmm.
Vital health, happiness, success, prosperity. When we cooperate it with our thinking, then we receive those blessings. It's not those blessings, it's scientific. And how do we know we're going along with those feelings? I mean, those hunches and with the harmony universe. It's because those thoughts and ideas feel really good. The thing with hunches, and you could call it God's will, because that's really what it is, right? The desire for more good,
Yes.
happiness, health. Those ideas feel good.
That's right.
And doubting and holding myself back does not feel good. And what happens when we do that? Then I get envious because I didn't get mine and I could have, and I knew it. And remember, you're going, well, I don't know about intuition and hunches. Yes, you do. You just called it something else. You called it, I had a feeling I
Right.
should have went over there. I had a feeling I shouldn't have done that.
Right.
One of the things to keep in mind is how everything falls in line when we trust this power. This is from a book called 24 Hours. I wasn't sure we were going to read from this today. 24 Hours a Day by Hazelton. And it says, intelligent faith in that power greater than ourselves can be counted on to stabilize our emotions. It has an incomparable capacity to help us look at life in balanced perspective. We look up, around, and away from ourselves, and we see that 9 out of 10 things that at the moment upset us will shortly disappear.
Yes.
Problems solve themselves. Criticism and unkindness vanish as though they had never been. A truly spiritual man or woman would like to have a serene mind. Because that's it. That serene mind is a happy mind.
Yes.
The only way to keep calm in this troubled world is to have a serene mind. The calm and sane mind sees spiritual things as the true realities and material things as only temporary and fleeting. That sort of mind you can never obtain by reasoning. Isn't it funny? They're all using that word because your reasoning powers are limited by space and time and what is already known.
Yes.
Because, it can't, reasoning
right.
can only go backwards. It can't go forwards.
Right.
And then it finally wraps it up with, that kind of mind you can never obtain by reading because other minds are also limited in the same way. You can only have that mind by an act of faith, by making the venture of belief.
Yes. You were saying something earlier, and yesterday I think I was driving, and you were like, "Oh yeah, make sure you write that down," or it was 2 days ago, and it was a thought that was coming through, and I almost thought, Ed, come on, you're always overthinking things. Are you really gonna? And this is kind of the types of attitudes that we get when I lose connection with this ever-present good that really excites me, like I did when I was young. Then our best ideas come through, and we're like, what's the use? And I almost did that, but thankfully
That's what I was going to say. These intuitive thoughts always come as a flash of joy and feel-good idea.
Yeah.
And it's a feel-good mean it feels good, and the idea is waking up. It's an alive idea.
Yes.
The problem is then, because of the bad habit of thinking along the lines of the way I was taught or the way the world thinks, I go, nah, it's silly. That's
right.
So don't listen. The thing is to shoo away those thoughts like mosquitoes and listen to that first one.
Yeah, and you make your own life interesting to you. If it's interesting to me, it's worthy of thinking about. If it feels good to me, and I don't have to get anyone else's proof.
That's right.
Or approval. And that's kind of linked to what you said. Oh yeah, make sure you write that down. So like the old way that many of us were taught was we do something and we do what we were told, and then we earn approval and love from the outside.
That's right.
But when we start living this way, and Jesus talked about this, when he talks about, I didn't come to bring people together. He says something like, I'm like a sword, something.
Well, yeah, he also
separates mom. You'll separate you from your mom.
To needing approval. And he also says, that's why he says, and the other thing is, don't worry about the applause of men.
Yeah.
Because it's the love from within that's really going to feed you.
That's right. So, but what happens is we start living this new way. And I was just talking to CeCe about this. The new way which is really the eternal way, which is not new at all, but like we're reestablishing this consciousness, which is that intuitive thing. That intuitive voice will tell me to not do many of the same things that old reasoning mind was telling me I should do. The intuitive mind is saying, don't do that. Instead, trust your own intuition, the way you feel, and your guidance, and tap into the love that comes from within you. The challenge that happens is that the old mind thinks it's dangerous to live this new way, for fear that we're of being unlovable or being punished, and will try to convince us that it's scary or dangerous to trust our own intuitive guidance, or oh, we don't have control, or we're letting go, and but this is where the power of decision for me lately, and whatever book's speaking to you at any moment is important. It's just this book jumped out at me to read it, and I've been rereading it
I started rereading it again every night.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I've been reading it methodically.
Just so you know, listeners, it's by Raymond Charles Barker, The Power of Decision.
Right.
And it is so no nonsense.
Yes.
Makes you want to up your game, and you get proof in your experience.
That's right.
That these laws really do work. They're in operation.
Yeah, and it emphasizes the need to make the decision.
Yes.
Because many times my old conditioned mind is going to go back into the ruts of old, and I get to make a decision again and again. I am infinite intelligence, acting intelligently. I always make the right decision. And because I've been using that so much, that one I can tell it feels like the divine. It feels like the God in me. It feels like the truth. And it's really good to have that when there's other old stuff, but that seems very real because I believed it for so long, and it has so much negative emotion attached to it. But I get the opportunity to go through my day and affirm again and again, no, I am infinite intelligence. It's really awakening me to things that Ponder and Florence Scovel Shinn and many talk about, the power of our words.
Yes.
I have the opportunity to put my word, not sit around and watch my subconscious mind tell me what to do. I always have a choice to then say, that's great. It feels terrible. And I'm making a new decision right now. I don't care what's gone before. I know the truth. Because the sooner I get back into the flow, because the guilty voice, that worrisome voice, is like trying to convince me that what's the use? The best thing I can do is just turn myself and let everyone know how bad a person I am, curl up in a ball. And that's just not true. That is not the best thing I can do. I'm here to shine light upon the world. So it's very interesting now, like the voice that is talking to you now is now starting to take a bigger role in my life, which is to calm the seas of those worries and those guilty voices and just say, enough. I'm deciding right now what's going on. And I am in infinite intelligence, acting intelligently, and that's the end of it. And then my subconscious mind is starting to
gets on board.
Dad's back, or the parent is back, and it's starting to relax. And I woke up this morning before my old thinking popped in, and I just had the most wonderful feeling of just feeling good as my natural state. Because that's the thing another thing in what I've been reading lately, Raymond Charles Barker emphasizes that we have to just get back into the awareness that health and feeling good is normal.
Yes.
We've normalized in many of our consciousness that sickness, we identify with certain things that we think are normal. That's the way it has to be. It's actually more natural that way, but it's not.
It's not.
We've just have forgotten, many of us, to actually make decisions about who we are. And these decisions are based on truth with a capital T. They're the decision to wake up and re-engage with life. And I've been affirming new ideas are coming through, because those old ideas, like you said, they're all based on the past. They think they'll present themselves as an authority, but it's nothing but rehatching old misunderstandings from the past. And I just affirm for myself, new thoughts are coming. I am a new thinker. New ideas are coming, new energy, and that changes everything, because now I'm doing what Raymond Charles Barker talks about, like uncongesting.
Yes.
All of that talk is just like blockages in the system that are just blocking the flow. So we make a decision to let the joy flow. And I mean, literally, just like I found that reading that we used to start the show, just everything becomes easier and more enjoyable. We become a light unto the world.
Well, I'll tell you what, some people listening might think, because it's jarring at first when we start affirming things like, I am intelligent, I am divine intelligence, acting intelligently, and I always make the right decision. You may say that to yourself because it happens to me. When there's an affirmation I need to say, it's the one that makes me go, oh, wait a minute, that's not true. I don't always make good decisions. What if I make a bad decision? I I hit a nerve here. This means there's an old subconscious pattern that tells me somewhere, I never make good decisions. I'm not great
That's
at making decisions. I'm not hearing that. But if the affirmation gets like, I feel myself kind of go, that's being dishonest. If I start hearing that and pushing that idea back, it means, oh, wait a minute, Darrell, you need to help transform this part of your subconscious. And you may go, well, that's just tricking yourself. You're lying to yourself. Well, were you lying to yourself all these years, Darrell? I could say to myself, when you were obviously believing I can't be trusted to make good decisions on my own. So that was telling the truth? Or was that lying? Do you see what we're getting at? That
Right.
the subconscious, the intuition, it's like Florence Scovel's Shin lays it out beautifully, which is there's the conscious mind, and that's the mind how we navigate, in our three-dimensional world, courtesy, kindness, dressing, showering, things to navigate through there. Then there's the subconscious mind, which is power without direction. Power without direction. Then there's the superconscious mind, which is the divine mind, which is connected to all things. And that's where our intuition comes. That's the highest mind.
Right.
But if we're stuck in the conscious mind, and we're listening to news and we're feeling guilty if we're super healthy, because other people might not be as healthy. So I better not brag that I'm feeling this good, because I know I'm going to see Joe later and he hasn't been feeling well.
Well, I got to add this too, though, that the subconscious mind, the direction that it is functioning off of is often direction that it was given. That's what we're talking about. That's where that's why our conscious mind is getting fooled to follow this subconscious programming. And if that subconscious programming is not in line with the divine mind.
So the whole point of helping ourselves, we got to use, in order to break these old habits of disbelief, of doubting ourselves, which always leads to all the horrible things, which is envy, resentment, self-pity. Well, then we have to start telling beyond point to make a decision. I'm going to stop telling myself awful things about myself. Well, I don't tell myself awful things about myself. Well, you might be telling yourself that you don't make good decisions or you can't be trusted to make good decisions because you just discovered by doing the affirmation, I'm divine intelligence, acting intelligently. I always make the right decision. You feel a little hiccup in your gut. Well, then that means we're uncovering something. This isn't negative. This is positive, because I will tell you, that means you got to now give yourself encouragement. Encouraging yourself is loving yourself. Condemning yourself and criticizing yourself is not loving yourself. I have to tell myself this, and it's been working.
Yes.
Because I'll catch myself going, and I'll go, Darrell, that's a defective character. You're not doing God's will by telling yourself horrible things about or discouraging yourself. We got to encourage ourselves. That's cooperating with God. And another thing is, think about it this way. Trusting our intuition is trusting God.
Yes.
Trusting our intuition is trusting God, or trusting that genius within. It doesn't matter what it's been called throughout the history of man, whether it's God, genius, intuition, divine wisdom, right?
That's
divine intelligence.
Yes.
It is there. That's the great news.
Yes.
That it's been shared so often, so many times. And the good news is, and it's unanimous, folks, that when we encourage ourselves to trust ourselves, we are always pleasantly surprised. That's the whole point of the title of the theme of our show, Stepping Out Boldly. Always leads to better and expected outcomes. It means stepping out boldly beyond these preconceived little limits.
That's right. That's right. Yes, and the thing is, with you're talking about how we think, oh, I'm not saying these negative things about myself, but it's not. It's not even. We have to get it. Oftentimes, the thoughts that are getting us are buried in our subconscious
Yes.
mind, and what you'll learn and what we learn is thought. In metaphysics, they say thought plus feeling equals the demonstration.
Yes.
So that's why we have to become. We have to use our conscious mind to redirect our subconscious mind to trust our intuitive divine mind.
Yes.
We need to go to work like a carpenter, reconstructing our thinking when our subconscious mind starts to drift out of it. And we know by the way we feel, and
Yes.
feeling is everything.
Feelings aren't facts, they're indicators.
Yes.
They're indicators of where our thoughts are taking us.
That's right.
And if it feels bad, it means we're going into rough waters.
That's right.
It means turn back.
Right.
Turn into the calmer seas.
Yes, that's right. Because our feelings can be changed.
Yes.
And we can change our thinking to change our feelings, because one thing our feeling does tell us also is when we are in alignment with God.
Oh, yes.
And we know it, and it feels good, and it adds joy and love to whatever projects we're involved in.
It's a ripple effect.
It's way more
dynamic.
powerful.
Yeah,
exactly. It has way more of an effect on our experiences than we often realize. Because if we're in this spiritual stuff and we're not feeling it inside, then we can become just as stuffy as someone who's not into the spiritual, or more stuffy, because we're trying so hard to control the surface. That's why we have to have a morning routine. That's why we have to meditate. I have to have something where I get under the hood of my own consciousness. Not for anyone else's sake, but so that I can live the life that all these teachers, including Jesus, talked about. You got to go alone with your consciousness. Because last night I did that. I was feeling really off the beam, but I know I did my meditation at night, and I was a new man when I let go of all of the crap that had built up during the day, and my mind was flowing in a joyous way again, and I was renewed.
Oh, man, this is good stuff. Well, and also, that Jesus's story isn't a literal story about a man. It's a story about a guy who's actually demonstrating things that will benefit man and woman if they apply it too.
Yes.
And he wasn't fighting against a real live devil when he was saying, get behind thee, Satan.
Right.
Satan, the origin of the word is error thought, meaning wrong thought.
Yeah, adverse thinking.
Adverse thinking. That's what the word means. It's not an entity. So when these thoughts would come up, the example that's given in the Bible is shoo them away, like swat them away like a fly. Don't dwell on them.
Yes.
And his example in the garden of, was it how you pronounce it? Gethsemane Sam?
Yes, go ahead.
Is to show how those voices can seem, I was talking to Ed about this, irrational fear often comes disguised as rational.
Yes.
Because I could tell this story quickly. Last week, Tuesday, I helped Lori do a photo shoot, and the very next day I was going to, was the workshop, the intuitive method workshop that I've been giving on Wednesday nights with a group. And I like to get all like my ducks in order because I'm excited. And, you know, I could, if I let go, I could go all over the place. So I kind of want to have some sort of, you know, idea,
of course,
a plan of how I'm going to share the information in 4, you know, chunks, because it's 4 separate meetings. So it's digestible and people get it and get as enthusiastic to do the things that I do and that Ed does that really are beneficial. So after helping Lori, it was hot, I was exhausted, and the thought came, you know, it's almost 3. And the Los Angeles Museum of Contemporary Art is free for residents from 3 until 6 during the week. I had heard that somewhere and tucked it back there, and my mind reminded me. And immediately I started using irrational fear of allowing myself to go with this hunch disguised as rational ideas. Because I'm going, no. I need to sit home and do my homework for tomorrow. You know, instead of realizing I had the whole next day, the class wasn't until 4 p.m. to do that. But it was, and then it thought, well, when I shooed that fly away, it went, well, it's under construction. So it's probably going to be not really that enjoyable because half the museum is torn down and being rebuilt. And I had to shoo that one away. I had to even, I don't know if I called Ed or talked to Lori or you.
You told me afterwards.
Okay, so either Stephen or Lori said, I said, do you think, I've been thinking about going to the museum now. Yeah, you should go. Because I was feeling like a bad boy going against my subconscious that's trying to keep me being reasonable.
Totally.
Well, folks, when you follow a hunch, it is amazing how the doors open.
Yes.
And just like Florence Scovel said, when you make that decision, results always follow. Without even hoping that there would be no traffic. There was no traffic, which is unheard of in this town at 3 o'clock. And especially in that direction. There was a space less than 50 yards from the front door. Right there on the street. I'm going, this is crazy.
Yes.
Maybe it was even under 20 yards. We get inside. They tell us there's only this section. I said, great. I'm with Steven. We get into the gallery. And it was all the art from the 20th century. And what was incredible was they just happened to have all this work that you could tell the artists were working from their intuition.
Yes.
You could tell that every one of these artists had to overcome, this isn't really what people are drawing or what's acceptable right now.
Yes.
But I'm going to do it. And what happened? They did it. And they did it. And then what happened? Everyone loved it. And why do they love it? And I noticed this as I was going through the museum. The show is up right now. We're 2024 June. So if you're in town, I highly recommend it in Los Angeles. But what I realized was these guys had to overcome all, like, you know it, like overcoming all these ideas. Like, oh, you know, I shouldn't put this on a canvas. People are going to think this is stupid because one of them collages on a canvas. Like, but the thing was, whether it was abstract or representational or figurative, it didn't matter if you understood what the artist was intellectually saying or conveying. But I will tell you this, they all felt good. There was something about them that you felt, ooh, I like this. I don't know why, even in some cases.
Right.
I mean, now I have learned to identify it with they're working from their intuition. That's why I like this. And these were some of the paintings I've only seen in books. People travel the world to see what's in this collection right now. There's Picasso's Weeping Woman with Handkerchief. There's, oh my God, I can't even think of them all now, but there's David Hockney's, there's Jackson Pollock's, there's Gio Cometti's, there's, you name it, they're in this show. And even when you get to Andy Warhol, and it's his classic Campbell soup can, it's fun to look at. It's a giant soup can. And you know what he had to overcome? He had the joyful hunch. You know what? I love the way packaging looks. I love the way this soup can looks. This is art. He was probably telling his friends. And he thought, you know what? I'm going to silk screen that on a canvas. And his mind going, that's stupid. That's not art. That's not hard to do. Where's the art in that? But that was his irrational fear. And I'm making this assumption, this irrational fear that he might have had, but I pretty much can conclude it was probably there. But there was something inside him that the delight of just doing it, he went with. And look what happened.
Right.
So these are just how my mind works. But here's the thing, folks. Once you become aware of it, you could become like myself, like Ed, that even when you're having these times where you're hesitant to follow that intuition, you know enough that there's a bigger that new neural pathway that now wants to encourage going with that rather than just nah, sorry. Like that neural pathway has gotten stronger to the point where I even brought it up with Lori and Steven, because it was that neural pathway of wanting to go in that direction has become a lot stronger than me like years ago wouldn't even have brought it up.
Right.
I would have had the idea, it would have felt good, and then I would have dismissed it out of fear and not followed that hunch.
Yep.
And I would have muscled my way through my lesson plan, and none of this would have been inspiring.
And
none of it.
And the button on it is that you ended up getting the perfect lesson plan for your class.
Yes, that was also divine intelligence working.
It's so amazing because the fear was saying, don't go here, do your lesson plan. But God was saying, go here and do your lesson plan.
And I'm going to give you a lesson plan.
Yes, and that's what I was thinking about this on their way over here. Is a big light bulb when Darrell and I were talking, which was just go for the fun first rather than trying to be professional.
Yes.
The universe responds to the fun, and so do other people. Like with our podcast or whatever, a lot of people rush to get the gear, rush to get everything perfect, and then lose the fun because it's the fearful voice inside that's going insecure. Really, it's feeling insecure if you don't have those things. But I'll tell you what, us moving into this studio and having more fun and making it easier has brought more life and joy, and actually it turns out to be more professional also. But you got to go for the fun. Professional can be just fear wearing a pair of slacks telling you that that's the right thing to do. So stay with the fun, because trying to go pro, whether it's in music or any art form or any business too soon. There was an article like a few years back that said like the thing that kills most businesses is they lose the fun too fast. They try to go pro too soon, and then they lose the fun behind the business, and then they don't succeed. All right, we want to thank our Patreon people, patreon.com/funniest thing. You will be able to participate in a 4 p.m. Tuesday, 4 p.m. Pacific. We do a Zoom on Tuesdays, which is awesome. Thank you for everyone for participating. You can send us anything you want at Funniest Thing, P.O. Box 1312, Culver City, California, 90232. We got a website, darrellanded.com. Stephanie Havelka sent us an amazing card. She said, "It's not odd, it's God." And she said, "You rock my world. Darrell and Ed, I just finished listening to your podcast. My goodness, I needed that. Every single reading, story, and all points hit home. We are living in Florida, been here 7 months already. Whoa.
Oh, wow.
Today I needed the injection of better thoughts. I needed the reset and shift in perspective. I'm grateful for the intuitive hit to listen to you two today. Sending lots of love, Stephanie, Josh, and Stella Sophia. That's their beautiful dog, a rescue. Should we do a 3 breaths?
We got 3 breaths,
we got to get CeCe in the house. Let's take a deep breath. Darrell came up with this because this is it. We got to clear the old thoughts that are standing there telling us, we know what to do. Don't worry. Put that fun and that joy aside. We'll keep you safe. We got to clear the coast. We got to make room for the new to come through. And when we do, oh my gosh, it is inevitable that our good will appear. So let's take a deep breath. The coast is clear for my good to appear.
The coast is clear for my good to appear.
The coast is clear for my good to appear. Oh, we got to thank Jeff Comfort out there in Kansas City, Kansas each week.
He takes us
right into the comfort zone. He's back to being the chief engineer of the show. All right, coming up next. Let's turn my mic down just a hair, will you? Coming up next, Cheerful CC Gaitan gets us to break the bad habit of disbelief with today's reading, If Not Now, When? Thank you for listening to Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed, live from Culver City, the heart of Screenland. Oh, boy.
All right, CeCe. You can unmute. I'm just going to get some more water.
All right. Great.
Are you Here, I'll do this. Oh, just lift the brakes. Oh, shit.
Go ahead. Shimmy.
I don't want to hit that computer.
Shimmy. Okay. All right. CeCe, if you're still there, you can turn your camera back on.
Okay.
Unmute. All of that good stuff. All right. As soon as Darrell returns, we will start the second segment.
And just to be clear, my last name?
Yeah, so we're going to ask you about that. Sorry about that.
No worries.
What is it?
It's Gaitan.
Gaitan.
Perfect.
Much better. Thank you. I knew it. I could feel it. I was saying it sheepishly because I meant to ask you before and I never did.
No worries.
Is it Spanish or?
Yes, my great grandfather was French, but yes, Spanish.
Yeah. Nice. Has your family been in up in the Ventura area for a long time, or?
Yeah, I've lived here pretty much all my life in Ventura County, and I just have to say that your last comments about fun over being professional, and I could have used that advice about 9 o'clock in the morning.
I believe it.
It's okay.
I could have used it at 9 o'clock as well. It always arrives right on time.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I got in the ocean this morning to do a little surf.
Oh, beautiful.
And, yeah, I think my body and mind are detoxing from teaching a year of special education. I am teaching a summer school, but it was interesting. I got some weird red rash on my back when I was surfing this morning, but I blessed it. I literally used these tools. By the time I got home, it was came back to normal, and I was like, thank you, God.
Oh,
but I really had to sidestep the fear of making it something much worse.
Yep.
But all right, Darrell's back.
Here, use your pull. Just pull. No, I got it. Pull. There.
Great. All right. It really does help the brightness, Darrell. When I notice when that closes, we don't get that backlight coming in. So.
Okay.
All right. Shall we?
Yes.
All right. Welcome back to Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed. Today's show is called Miracles Are Natural with CeCe Gaitan. Did I get that right?
Absolutely. Beautiful.
Okay. Hey, CeCe, on the break, those on YouTube were able to watch, but we were talking about how important fun is. I just want to read one thing from Raymond Charles Barker, The Power of Decision. He says, pleasure and fun are creative mental atmospheres. Too many people have too little pleasure in their usual week. It is a tonic that keeps the mind functioning in ways of health. There is a healing power in a hearty laugh, just as there is a destructive power in weeping and anger. Your mind needs the pleasure idea to offset the constant work idea. The race mind has overemphasized the work idea, which actually perfectly leads us to you, CeCe, because I was watching Darrell speak, Unity of Ventura. You were the MC, the prayer minister, rocking it, and I was so uplifted by the joy you were bringing to the service that we've all joked about this, but all of a sudden I had a cigar in my hand. I was calling Darrell saying, we need CeCe, get her on the line. And you said you had an intuitive story about that day. You want to share that real quick about how you ended up here?
Yes, absolutely. That day, Darrell was a guest speaker, and we started out the morning with prayer and setting just setting an affirmation of how we wanted the day to go forward. And I said joy. And somehow my intuition just kicked in and started came out and played. And at the very end of the service, we have hospitality. And Rod and Darrell were at the crumpet bar buffet. and I'd come into hospitality. My intuition kicked in again and said, say goodbye to him. And which I, as a host or as the MC, that's part of my job, is just to make sure to let them know that everything went well and thank them for being the guest speaker. So I knew that, but the intuition urged me to say goodbye to them. But I was pulled away and I got into a conversation with someone, and the voice kicked in again and said, say goodbye to him. And I looked up, and Rod and Darrell were gone. And I thought, well, they're gone. I didn't say goodbye. And my intuition kicked in again and said, go after them. And I started arguing with my intuition and saying, I got a gimpy leg. There's people that I'm not going to run after. Some guy in the parking lot, you got to calm down. And it kept saying, go after him, go after him. And I looked up, and Darrell walked in and said, I just got a text from Ed, and he wants you to be on the podcast. And like a petulant child, my intuition said, say yes, say yes. And I said yes, but my subconscious said, you got a lot to do. You got a job, you got a regular job, you can't be saying yes to everything. And so I prefaced saying yes, that I would get back to you during the week. And you two left me that incredible message on my phone to say yes. And of course I'm here now. But yeah, it took me here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing because the intuition already saw this whole thing without any of us realizing it, that you were going to be on the podcast, like all of it, and that there was already a common appreciation for each other, that felt like we knew each other, and we only just really met that day. And it really is incredible. And the best part of this story is, even when we fight it, because I've fought at some situations and then it ends up in my lap and I'll still say no to it, like you almost did. So we really get to see that this force is really for us.
Yeah.
It really is for us. And the more I cooperate with it and the less I argue with it, the quicker I get
So true.
all the things that I desire without even realizing what I truly desire.
Yeah, we get like cats stuck up in a tree. We're so scared to come down. We think that this power that's trying to get us down from the tree is actually after us. Like,
Yeah.
Like we're having a dream, and in the dream, it's like, that's, oh my God. And then all the while, it's a loving presence going, no, come on. I'm going to come down from the tree. I'm going to help you, the whole time. It's always there for us.
I really love I love this theme of miracles. And I looked up several definitions of miracles as being this from something extraordinary event, wondrous extraordinary event, to just a shift in consciousness or shift in our perspective, which can be a miracle to me.
Yeah.
And so these things, what you're talking about, I love the serene mind because of that subconscious talking to me. I'm talking about my own. It just disrupts my peace. But the power of a mind at peace is what we're moving towards, or what we are going through this life and navigating. And it's just trusting that intuition. And I am taking Darrell's class, the intuitive method, And that also came up to me when I was saying the announcements at church. I knew about the class and I thought it was interesting, but it interfered with work. And so I put it aside. But when I started reading the announcements and mentioning the intuitive method class, my intuition kicked in and said, take the class, take the class. And out popped my, it was not even me. It just came out, and I'm taking the class too. And I thought, you don't even know if you can get the time. I mean, I started arguing with the voice, like, look what you got me into. I made a promise with all these people. And it was that class I didn't know I needed until I was there. It was, I am wanting to be more trusting of the intuitive voice, but sometimes it's not appropriate in my mind when it decides to jump out. And my thinking is, my limited thinking is, it doesn't understand all the things that I need to do, but actually it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's exactly how I felt on
Yep.
Tuesday when it went, you should go to this. You never go to these free museum things. It'll be a fun little vacation, you know, right here in the neighborhood. But that other reasonable part, like it's not even reasonable, it's that irrational fears coming disguised as being like the rational,
Yeah.
you know, parent telling me, oh, well, no, you should work on the workshop today, and you did enough fun for one day. Like but it was actually taking me to help me get more enthusiastic about presenting the workshop, and it all fed into it. It was like, how does this happen? It
Yes.
happens because we surrender to that higher voice. And the other thing I think that makes us distrust that higher voice is, like Ed's been pointing out the whole episode, it's because it's a joyful voice. And we've been taught for so long, settle down, don't get too crazy. You know,
Yeah.
you got to conform. You don't want to get in trouble. I think that got in my subconscious so much that now it misidentifies joy as a threat instead of joy is the strength of the Lord. Joy is go in this direction. You won't be sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, speaking joy, one of the exercises or these exercises that Darrell has in the intuitive method class, I am so into it. I look forward to coming home and playing with the paints and pencils and cutting pictures out of magazines. I so look forward to it that one night last week, it was at 11:30 and I hadn't done the exercise. And so I thought, you know, just 2 minutes, start playing with some things. I didn't go to bed till 2. I completely lost track of time.
Wow.
I know. And that to me is when you are in the midst of joy, it seems like everything just stopped. Time stopped. And I wasn't freaked out about it or anything. It's like, oh man, it's already 2:00.
Yeah.
And so it is just that I have no expectation of the class except to have more joy in my life, which is the word that I used that day that we met, Darrell.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. You brought up that other big point of all this. And when I'm in tune with my intuition, not only does time not mean anything anymore, like it's no longer something that's against me or for me, but also if I'm tired before, but then I listen to my intuition instead of my brain telling me, no, you're tired, and I just do it all of a sudden, because it really is. This spirit is so much more than the
Yeah.
limiting idea I have of myself and my physical body.
Yeah.
That all of a sudden I'm refreshed, I'm awake, and I feel enthusiastic. It's like, where did this come
Yeah.
from?
Right.
And it's like you said, it's a shift. It's a change in my consciousness, just a shift. And now I'm in this whole new
Right.
realm. And to be able to visit that more often than telling myself I shouldn't, making excuses to not trust it is really the key to living heaven on earth, or
Or hell.
or even, or worse, that place in between where it's just
Which is the road to hell.
road to hell.
The highway to hell. Yeah, what you guys are saying is really very, just really helping me to reflect, because my life continues to get better and better in new waves. I live this stuff, things get incredibly better, then I start to stagnate a bit, and now I've been because of that stagnation, I've been applying it again in a new way. And what you said was, the fear-based ideas are reasonable when we live in this world that is generated out of fear, in which things are limited.
Yeah.
So within that belief system, it is very reasonable to not do these fun things that are intuition, because it's saying, and I've been noticing this. So the other day I told Darrell, I said, I took all the things that were stressing me out, because I got to prepare for me too. I was preparing for this summer school program I'm doing, and there was something else, going to see my folks, but none of it was feeling good. Like, the idea of doing it was not feeling good. So I just wrote it down on a list on my phone. I said, God, you're going to do that. I'm going to take a leap of faith. You're going to work that out in whatever way you're going to work that out. I'm going to find out what feels good for me to do, and I'm just going to do that. And as I've been doing this, because it takes a leap of faith, because from that perspective of fear, there's no way my stuff's going to get done if I don't do, and it's a lie. It's based on lies.
Yes.
Like today when I was surfing, my mind, I didn't have my watch on me, and my mind's telling me, you're late, Darrell's mad, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, this feels too bad. This can't be true. I didn't get here. And so finally I found a guy with a watch, and he was like at least half an hour earlier than what my fear was telling me with authority about how I was running. I was not late. I was plenty early. I was right on time. And then yesterday when I got done with teaching and I took a nap in my car, and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. My mind was coming up with things that could be fun but didn't feel good. And I just said, you know what? I'm just going to drive. And I'm thinking, I started affirming I am infinite intelligence, and I'm flowing. And all of a sudden I look up, and I'm at the one cat food store that has the wet food that I needed to buy. It was one of the things on my list. And it was that little thing, though, reminded me that this stuff works. I didn't plan on, I don't even know why I went down that street and whatever, but God was like, now you're getting somewhere. Now you're just relaxing and enjoying. Now I can get the things done that need to get done, and you can have fun in the process. And it just, Charles Fillmore said there are no miracles, because what he was concerned with is people thinking that it's like a reluctant God that has changed the rules of the game so that we can get what we want. What he was saying, and it's fine to use miracles, we still use it, but it's for the thought of it's really just divine order.
Yes.
Are we trusting in the beliefs that fear is telling us, which are all a lie, by the way, or are we actually flowing with what's really natural, which is divine order, which is our good comes to us in unexpected ways? Because one way is trying to manipulate what's already here and what's already been, which never works. The other way is to become a channel, a light unto the world, in which new light, which is limitless, new ideas, new resources flow through us into the world and create a new world.
A new world.
A new world. Just create new things, new ideas, new exciting adventures. And that, when I'm listening to you guys talk, it's like the old fear is our mind is actually closed, and our fear is projecting something on the wall of our closed mind and telling us it's reality. The way this is opening our eyes so that the light from within can now flow out, and we can be a light unto the world, and we can actually maneuver through this universe in an amazing way. And that's very
Yes.
different, two very different ways of being.
Absolutely. I love that. And I hope I'm not getting sidetracked, but you keep bringing up becoming and being. And as a prayer minister, I'm going to use Reverend Beth Ann. She is my confidant also. But whenever I have come to her, she would always ask me the question, what do you want to be in this situation? And what are you becoming because of this situation? And it is, at the beginning, I used to say a badass. I just want to be a badass. But it does mean a lot, because this time that I was sort of lost in creating something, I I really felt I lost track of time. That was more me.
Yes.
Than I was becoming who I really am.
Yes.
In that moment. And it is to be aware. I'm kind of rethinking how that happened, but just to and processing it with you. But what was so beautiful is that I just allowed it, and enjoyed myself, and becoming. I want to say that's when like healing starts.
Yeah.
And that's the time for forgiveness. All of these things that seem so impossible, for me, impossible becomes possible. And I one of my pictures was a big fear. It was of cockroaches. And I just made a big collage, or thing of cockroaches, and I thought, they don't look as scary as I think they are. I mean, there was kind of they were more funny than they were scary, but it was just this very healing activity that I just would want for everyone.
Yes. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's that experience when we're in, it's like that. I can only explain it. It's like that's the eternal me. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm like, this is the me I've been, that I always was. Like, this is the same me. It's
Yeah.
not the me that's matured intellectually, but it's the same. I feel it's the same me when I was 5, that, or the same me when I get old. It's like this eternal me
Yeah.
I'm with in those moments. And I feel like I don't feel separate from, even though I'm by myself, I don't feel separate from my fellow man. I don't feel any of
Yes. That's right.
those ill ideas that make me think negatively about others, or it's just, wow. It's like, I mean, I don't want to cheapen it by saying, it's like the guy who has a good, healthy shot of whiskey and puts his arm around a stranger and says, I love you, man. But that's what it does. It breaks me out of that shell. And
Yeah.
the more we do it, the more we're able to live in that, even when we're driving or shopping.
That's
It
right.
starts to become more familiar than unfamiliar.
100%.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
And it's funny, familiar and family are
Yes.
related. We become family. And last week we talked about being adequate, which means to become equal. Like in a world of competition, adequate sounded like it was a negative thing, but in truth, it's actually a very positive thing. If we go
Yes.
add, equate. It's like to make equal. We become equal with and we become equal with the divine. And if there's only one power, and if that's one of the principles, there's only one power, then everything else has to be a misunderstanding on our part.
Yes.
And when we get in that creative flow, I had that feeling when I was in the water today. For a moment, it was so crazy. Like, I mean, it hit me so like profoundly, but not, yeah, I was very light, but also just I realized, man, I'm the same kid that moved to California when I was 5 and started playing in the water at Laguna Beach, and I'm still just playing in the ocean.
Yeah.
I mean, the ocean turned from being this thing that I've gotten used to going back into this magical thing, and I turned back into myself as a child, and it felt so amazing to connect. And I think a lot of that's happening now that I am using the power of decision to just say, I am infinite intelligence acting intelligently, and I always make the right decision. And again, the right decision is not like a right and wrong thing, it's more of deciding in favor of my truth, of who I actually am. And that's why I like what you said. A couple of weeks ago, I had the awareness. I was having like anxiety driving to work, and I realized part of my mind was trying to figure out, like, because I've been doing all this inner blessing and changing my mind. My mind was starting, who am I? Like, kind of like, uh, concerned about that as I was driving. And then I realized it doesn't matter who I am, it matters that I am. I don't need to figure out who I am. I just have to remember that I am. And
Yes.
as I remember that I am, it's a magical thing to be I am. It's a magical thing to be
Yes.
here. It is a magical thing that none of us can explain. We're here. That's
Yes.
incredible. Who I am will take care of itself. That's not even for me really to say. I mean, I know kind of who I am when I just realize that I am. It all makes sense, you know? So,
I can't believe I had this one reading, but I could paraphrase it because it was so powerful. It might have been in the Power of Decision because I've been reading that at night too. But it was saying how that we can we can have the faith because even when he says sometimes at our most joyful moments, fear will jump in those moments and try to sabotage it. It's almost like, oh, I'm having too much fun now. I better bring it down a notch. Like I can't allow myself this much exhilaration,
Yes.
and a fear will come in. It says, and the reading basically says, dismiss that fearful thought. Dismiss that thought that that's not the reality. That's just an old subconscious saboteur that you thought you needed to behave and not get too enthusiastic or too happy because you might get in trouble for it. So you got to just show that saboteur out the door. And there's another line in the book, The Power of Decision. When we're worrying and getting fearful, he was basically putting away, that's when we're working at creating problems for ourselves. Those are the, what did he call them? I don't know if he called them the predecessors, or those are actually the wheels of our mind, like putting together, giving birth to future problems. So so it helps me shoo them away quicker when the worry and the fear. Nope. I'm not gonna do that. I don't want to start now working to build future problems. I can say no.
Yeah, definitely. Ed, I just want to say what you just said about I am and becoming I am. You just described the miracle of you. And I thank you.
ah, that's beautiful. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Um, so, oh yeah, we sent you a reading from Joyce Kramer. Do you have the reading? Would you mind reading that?
Absolutely. Sure.
Yeah.
If Now, When by Reverend Joyce Kramer. The affirmation: nothing can stop the flow of good in my life. I claim and receive what I need and desire. Thank you, God. Someday I'll be happy. Someday I'll find contentment. When do we postpone our good? Why do we expect fulfillment at some future time? God dwells within us now. Good in all forms: happiness, prosperity, joy, and contentment. This is all about us now. Let us expand our conscious awareness today to see the good that is ours. Let us know that God is ever present, and therefore good is ever present. Good is not limited to any time or place. We can never use it all up, and we do not need to wait for it to come to us in the faraway future. It is here now. Claim whatever you need and desire. God's nature within us deserves all good for us. Whatever may be delaying our ability to receive needs to be erased from our consciousness. As we know the presence of God within, nothing can stop the flow of good in our life and activities. This reading was inspired by 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 2. Behold, now is the acceptable time. Behold, now is the day of salvation.
Yes. A friend of ours named Claude has resurfaced, and he was just now coming to these revelations like we all do at our own time. And he was reinforcing the idea of thinking, once I get this, once I get that. And he was sharing how he was really hanging on to the determination that those things must come in order for him to be happy, to the point when they didn't come, now he was, they went through a devastating period. But he got to the point, which Dugan helped me with years ago, which is if I am concerned about anything or think I need to wait or I won't be happy until, or it could be finances. At this time, it was finances. This was when I was in my 20s. I go, well, how am I going to do about finances and this and that? And he goes, how would you feel if you just found out you won the $6 million scratch off? Oh, I'd feel great. It would be fantastic. I feel great. And he goes, hold on to that. He was teaching me that don't wait for the happiness to be conditional on these things. Enjoy the happiness now.
Yeah.
Live in happiness now. And all the things that correspond to happiness are going to be attracted to you because it's the universe's job to match our frequency. And if I'm putting things off and thinking I won't be happy until, the universe responds and my subconscious goes to work for me saying, oh, okay, then we're not going to be happy now. We're not going to be happy until in the future. And the future is always going to be in the future. But if I retrain to go, no, I can be happy now knowing God is at work in my life right now. Well, then my subconscious mind and the universe goes, oh, he's happy now. These things match happiness, prosperity,
Yes.
health, joy, all those things. And that's where we're saying those are the ideas that don't get in the way of our good. And we're saying on this episode and reminding each other, shoo away all those doubts, fears, concerns, and worries that pretend to be reasonable, that are holding all our good at arm's distance.
Right.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Spend some time with your morning routine.
Yes.
Because that's the key it's not just shooing away the thoughts. It's shooing the thoughts because recognizing that they're basically untrue.
They're false.
And the only way to do that is to regularly spend time meditating, praying, reading inspired words that keep reminding my mind that is true. That's why I shoo them away, because if I'm just shooing them away, that's a battle I'll never win. If I don't spend time knowing the true nature of this universe, once we know the true nature, then our joy just comes from within because we know we're in God's hands all the time. And then it just makes it easier for things to flow and flow and flow. And again, it's still a process. It's a process of practicing, remembering that and knowing that. And I think that's what life is about, is learning to continually redirect our mind in the direction of our good, by cooperating and letting the miracles work through us.
Yes, like Raymond Charles Barker said, metaphysics is not for the faint of heart.
That's right.
Life is beautiful.
Yes.
CeCe, anything else you want to share with us, or our listeners or viewers before we wrap up the show?
Yes, thank you, Ed. I do want to invite all of your listeners to Unity of Ventura on Sunday. And this Sunday, we have a guest speaker, TJ Woodward, who is an agape minister. and he created Conscious Recovery for people that have struggled with addictions. Following that, we have Reverend Kat Connect, who will talk to us about coaching. And then Reverend Kathy Norman is our guest speaker for July, followed by
Yay.
Beth Ann. So we invite everyone down to Ventura at 10 o'clock for our service, or you can tune in online, Facebook Live.
Yes. Yes. We actually I wanted to ask you about a minister that I've seen, who we were wondering if
She
we could
just
get her on the
spoke
show.
recently.
Hold on, I'm on your page. I'm trying to. It is. No. Let's see here. What is she? 97? You know.
There
who
you
I'm
go.
talking about.
Yes.
Nancy Berggren.
Yes. Oh, she's the best.
She's the best.
Yes, she's 92. She's a minister. She was a former actress. She's animated. She is would be an incredible guest for you.
Yes. So perhaps after the show, we can talk to you about how we might be able to connect with her.
Will do. No problem.
Wonderful. All right. Well, we have a quick story, as we always do.
From when you were in elementary school.
Yeah. Apparently, when CeCe was in elementary school, her teacher, Miss Wallace, asked the class,
If it takes 8 men 10 hours to build a wall, how long would it take 4 men to build it?
CeCe waved her hand from the back of the class. Somewhat reluctantly, her teacher called on her. CeCe smiled.
No time at all, Miss Wallace. The wall is already built.
Okay.
She was smart, folks. She was smarter than the teacher.
You know, this whole thing is really a miracle, right? Mr. Manilow said it best, right?
He said it best. He actually sang it best, Ed.
It's a miracle.
Miracle, true blue spectacle, miracle come true. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
We're together, baby.
I was going crazy till the miracle came through.
Now you're
Here and my arms are all around you. And baby, they'll be dancing in the streets. For the miracle, miracle, true blue spectacle, the miracle is you. Woo. Visit DarrellandEd.com to find easy links to everything we do.
CC Gaitan, we love you.
Love you
And,
too.
and as always, thanks for being a part of Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed.
For the miracle.
Miracle,
True
blue spectacle, the miracle is you.
Woo!
Woohoo!
All right, we did it.
This was a lot of fun. You guys are great. I loved it. I loved it. Wasn't scary at all.
No,
No,
we're
thank
gonna
you.
we're gonna call you right back to learn how to get in touch with
Nancy.
Nancy.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. And
Have a great day.
I don't have that handy. I'm going to track it down right now, so it'll
Oh,
take.
okay.
Give me a moment
Okay, then send it. You could send it to us
Yeah.
when you get it.
when I get it. Okay, will do, friends.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for
We
your
love
time.
you.